all about. So we're talking about lease options. Today, I'm going to go over 3 different ways that you can actually structure your lease option deal so that you can actually get paid from it. So, well, I'm telling you now, I always tell you guys, grab your pen, grab your papers. Sometimes you need calculators because y'all don't understand the math, just like I don't when sometimes. So take your time, get yourself in position to take notes. I need you to grab your pens, your papers, your tablets, your writing equipment, whatever you got. I like to use my iPad with a little jazzy pen to it sometimes. So grab your pens and your papers, all your calculators. We're going to go over 3 different ways that you can structure. Now, there's more than 3, but we're definitely going to do 3 different ways that you can structure a lease option deal. This is where you lease with an option to purchase, or like y'all like to say, rent to own. But we're going to talk about that tonight. So grab your pens and papers. I also want you to do me a favor and share this live with 3 of your friends. All right. Now, I'm not going to hold you because I got about 20 minutes to get all this done. And that's all I got. About 20 minutes, 20, to get this done for y'all. Now, first things first, we talked about it before. And we talk about what is lease options, how you structure a lease option deal, that type of thing. So just briefly go back over lease option. A lot of you call it rent to own, lease with an option to purchase. Here's what it does for you. A lease option allows you to lease or rent a property. Okay, lease or rent a property with an option to purchase that property in the future. I'll say it again. Lease or rent property with the option to purchase that property in the future. This is what a lease option is. Some of you call it, like I said, rent to own, but you have a misconception of how that works. Now, I told you guys before, lease options, rent to own, you will need some money. You're going to need first month's rent, security deposit. You might have an option fee. You might have a down payment, whatever your seller wants to call it, and however your seller wants to acknowledge that in your process of your payment. So the first way we're going to do this, and I know a lot of, like I said, this isn't sexy. It's sexy, but it ain't as sexy as some of the other stuff that we do. Okay. This is when you guys say to me, how can I make money in real estate with little to no money out of pocket? Lease options is one of those ways. So what can you do with a lease option? The first things first, you have your tenant buyer and your seller who owns it. We have the tenant buyer and the seller who owns it. Remember that. Okay. Now, the tenant buyer, this is the person who's going to eventually take the option to purchase at a later date. Okay. Now, the first thing you want is, what do they require? See, I have my notes here, so I don't forget to tell y'all stuff. The first way we're going to structure our deal when we're doing this, and thank you guys for coming in. If you're just joining, we're talking about lease options, and we're going over 3 different ways that you can structure your lease option deal. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer questions for you. So, number 1, fixed pricing. Okay. Fixed pricing is based on a price that you and the owner agree to right now. I'll say it again. This is a price that you and the owner agree to right now at this moment. So today is December 12th. Okay. So December 12th, 2023, I agreed to sell you my single family home with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths for $209, around in this neighborhood, about $150,000. You say, okay, I fill out the lease, you're going to pay me X amount of dollars per month. Now, in that lease agreement, I might come and say, hey, you know what? You should give me $5,000 down because I'm taking my property off the market. That's called an option fee. That's not a down payment. It's non-refundable. It does not help you, hurt you. It doesn't do anything for you. That money goes into the owner's pocket, and you never to be seen by the seller, by the tenant buyer ever again. Okay. So I want you guys to understand that an option fee is non-refundable, and you do not get this money back, and it does not go towards the purchase of your home. What you're doing when you say a fixed rate fee, you're saying that I agree to buy your property in X amount of years for this dollar amount. We've already agreed to this dollar amount, so this is what I'm going to pay. Now, if you can't get a mortgage for that dollar amount in that amount of time, you're going to end up not being able to execute your option. So we'll talk about what happens when you can't execute the option. We'll talk about that later. But right now, what I want you guys to understand is a fixed rate, okay? The fixed rate fee is just that. It's fixed. I'm going to buy your property for $150,000 in 3 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, in 1 year. Whatever you state in the lease agreement and the purchase contract. Okay? If you understand that, put a 1 in the chat, because I want you guys to make sure you understand what the fixed rate is. The fixed rate is the purchase amount. I agree to purchase this property from you in this amount of time. Now, why would you do that? My people, why would you as a tenant do that? Number one, you can't get a mortgage challenged, your money is funny, or you just haven't found a place, or you just started a job, or you're just getting on your feet. You might be a single mother, you might be a single father, you might just not be able to do that right now. So you say, you know what, let me see if I rent your apartment, or I rent your property, if I rent your house for this amount of, if I rent your house, how can I then, now that I'm renting your house out, how can I get my, what can I do? Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. When you say, okay, so I'm going to rent this house to you, what do you do? Okay, landlord, I would like to rent your house with an option to purchase. We agreed to it. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to rent property for 2 years. That means for 2 years, your landlord cannot increase the rent. That's great for you. Cannot make you move. That's great for you. And they can't sell the house. They can make you move, you don't pay. Now don't get it twisted. Don't be out here telling me you're gonna lease option somebody's property and then not do anything with it. They can take it down from you. They can take you down from that property if you don't make the payments. Okay? Because remember, you're on a lease that means you're a tenant. So if you don't make the monthly payments, they can evict you. That's what I want you guys to understand. Okay? Number 2, another reason that you might do this, besides your money being funny, your credit is challenged, you don't have anything, you're a single parent, you might have just got out of college and started your career, so you don't know. But the benefit of this to you, the tenant buyer, is your rent's not going to increase unless that's stipulated in the lease agreement, which we're going to make sure that's not. Okay? Your rent doesn't increase. You living somewhere solid for 2 years, 2, 3, 5, however many years you put in the lease, and you have an option to purchase at the property value it is right now, because you said I'm agreeing to pay $150,000 now, right? So that's a fixed rate. Everybody put it in the comments, fixed rate. This is how fixed pricing. It's already fixed. It's already in the price, what I'm going to pay. If I'm going to pay you $150,000, if I agree to pay you $150,000 in 2 years for your property, that's what I'm going to pay. Now, if your property for any reason is worth more than $150,000, then you lose out on that money, owner, seller. Or it's worth less than that, you lose out on that equity, tenant buyer. So you can't go back and try and renegotiate it. The only thing you can do is, I choose not to execute my option. That's the only thing you can do as a tenant buyer. That's the only thing you can do is say, I choose not to execute my option. I'm going to move. Now the seller can do whatever they want to do. Now, another way you can structure a lease option deal is appreciation. Now, we all know real estate is the one thing that will continuously go up. Real estate appreciates at a certain rate. In Buffalo, we're at a 4, I don't want to say 4, we're at about a 6%. I would say 5 to 8%, depending on average of where you're located in the area. Okay, that's our appreciation rate. So what you do is you value the home right now. So if the home is 150,000, is why I tell you to get your calculators out. Messing with me, you always gonna need a calculator. Okay, you get $150,000. You get $150,000 property. See, 150, 150. Don't matter. Don't mind that chip nail polish. Pay attention to the numbers. Okay. Now, $150,000 times, say 6%. That's $9,000. That means my property will increase in value to $9,000 next year. So it's $150,000 now, plus it'll be $9,000 next year. So now it's worth $159,000. Okay. So now I got 159 times 0.06. Now it's 9,540 plus the 159 from the previous year. Now in 2 years, the house is now worth 168. See that? 168. It's probably backwards, but y'all get the point. 168. So if it's at 100 now in year 2, it's at 168,540. After the first year, it was already worth 159. Okay, now you're on a 3-year lease, so now you're 168,540 times 6%. That's 10,000. What the hell just happened? Okay, we lost y'all on Instagram, but we still rocking and rolling on Facebook and YouTube. So now we're at 10,000. Okay, so the 10,112, y'all see that? Is for year 3, plus the 168,540. Now in year 3, the house is now worth 178,652 and 40 cents. So if I say right now, doing this on the fixed rate, remember we did the first one on the fixed rate, we're doing the second one on the appreciation rate. On the first rate, I said I'll buy your house in 3 years at 150,000. And you got me on a 3-year lease. I paid you an option fee or a down payment, depending on what we negotiate. Okay, then so now the house in 3 years is now worth $178,600. It's $178,652. Okay, so now that it's worth that, then what happens is I as the owner, I did it a fixed rate, I'm jipping myself out of $28,000. But you as a seller, you earn $28,000 in equity. That's fixed. We're still talking about the fixed pricing. For those of you who we lost you on Instagram, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened, but we're now back. So if we were at a fixed rate of $150,000 in 3 years, I'm going to purchase this property from you at $150,000. Great. Now, fixed rate means the owner will only get $150,000 in 3 years. Appreciation, if I say, no, we're going to do a 6% appreciation rate, no, you're going to pay me 178. So you would do that. You would write up the contract at 178, at 178,000. Because that's the appreciated rate over the next 3 years. You see how that works? Everybody with me? Everybody understand? I hope you guys are getting this. I hope you guys get your pens and papers and your calculators, because you know we do math over here. because I give it to you. I'm giving you the real information that you're going to need to go out and execute these types of deals. So in order for you to do fixed rate lease options, you're going to have a lease agreement and a purchase agreement. The lease agreement has to say how much you're going to make per month. It's say that if you are responsible for the repairs, if you are responsible for the repairs, if it's over a certain dollar amount, does the landlord take care of it or does the tenant take care of it? You have to put that in there because this is what it is. In lease options, when you lease with an option to purchase, you're essentially saying, I own this property. I'm making steps to own this property. So if you are making steps to own the property, you actually have to be responsible for the repairs and the maintenance for the time that you are leasing. Now, what I would normally do if I'm lease optioning a property to someone, a tenant buyer, I would say, hey, look, under this dollar amount, I'll pay for it. Over this dollar amount, you pay for it because you have to have some skin in the game. Okay, so that's fixed. Let's talk about appreciation. We did the appreciation values. We did 6% appreciation. So if your house is worth $150,000 today, December 12, 2023, December 12, 2024, it will be worth $159,000. 2025, 168. 2026, 178. So now you're at $178,000 for your purchase price. So you put that in the purchase agreement right now. You're putting your tenant buyer in a lease agreement. They're paying you an option fee, whatever you want your option fee to be. It could be $5,000, it could be $2,000, it could be $3,000, it could be $1,000, whatever you want your fee to be. Then you also are going to charge them the first month's rent, security deposit, or how some people say the first month's, first last hand security, however you want to put it. You can do whatever you want in that, but you have to have, I always say, cover yourselves because you will need an option fee. The option fee is non-refundable. Now, I may or may not decide to say, hey, that's going to be, I'll count that as your down payment if you choose to do if you choose to execute your option in 3 years, I'm going to use this as your down payment. It's still not refundable. I can make it that way. It's still not refundable to you, but I do have to keep a copy of the check that you give me. So if you do decide to execute your option, I have to present that as proof that you made a down payment. See what I'm saying? Or I have to say, okay, we're going to do $1,500 a month. $500 of that is going to go toward your down payment. So in 3 years, you'd have $18,000 down. Get what I'm saying now? But then I have to show proof that you made that payment every month. So every time you send me a check, or you send me a Zelle, or because I do not do rent on Cash App. Sorry, y'all. I do credit cards. I'll send you an invoice. You do a credit card payment, but I do not do Cash App payments for my renters. Sorry. So, and what I'll do is I'll put that in. You have to keep record of all the payments that you made, and then send that to the bank to show that you made those payments to prove that you did a down payment. And I'm telling you now, most lenders want it to come from the owner of the property, not from you. Okay. All right. So the first one was fixed. We're going to say, we're going to do it based on what the value we agreed to this price today. The price we agreed on is $150,000. So in 3 years, I'm going to pay you $150,000 for your property. Or you do the appreciation value. That's where in 3 years, I'm going to pay you $178,000 for your property. Okay, in 3 years. Now, this last one is for my wholesalers. You know you can wholesale a lease option, right? Oh, the lease. How dare you teach them some new stuff? Easy. You know you can wholesale lease options, right? I'm waiting because y'all be saying, y'all think I told y'all I'm still wholesaling. Okay. Now, how do you wholesale the lease option? Easy. The landlord who does the who's agreeing to the lease option with the lease with the option of purchase, they may be okay with it. Oh, in 3 years, so you're doing a down payment right now, but you're gonna do this. Well, you, wholesaler, get the option fee from the person, the tenant buyer, the person who's interested in doing the lease option, who wants to present the option, who wants to have the availability to do a lease option. That's who you get your money from. Mhm. Or they gave me the thumbs down. That's cute. But I'm saying that's what you do. So you can wholesale it and have the buyer pay you the lease option, or you can get it under a process of the lease option and you can sell it to an investor and have the investor pay you your assignment fee. It's that simple. All right. Now, let's talk about an option fee. Those are the three ways that you can do your lease option. You can do a fixed rate, you can do the appreciated rate, or you can wholesale it. That's it. That's all. It's not much, not hard. Now, let's talk about the option fee versus a down payment. A down payment will have to go into escrow. It'll have to sit into an escrow account. It will have to sit there until you decide that you want to execute your option. If you decide that you're going to execute your option, then the seller, the owner of the property, can then, once the deal closes, take that money out and they can cash it. Now, here's the reason why a lot of owners will not do the down payment, because it infers ownership. It means that I have decided to give you some type of ownership claim to this property. And in some states, that would mean you have ownership. You're in a mortgage agreement. And if you miss a payment, you have to be foreclosed on. I have a client who's going through that right now here in New York because he didn't do his paperwork correctly. It's just simple. You have to follow the laws of the land that govern you. And you have to govern yourselves accordingly. First and foremost, the first thing you do is you state everything in your lease agreement. Remember last week when we talked about this, I told you you had to have two different types of what am I calling it? Two paperwork. You had to have two contracts. That's the word, contracts. You had to have a lease agreement. Now, the lease agreement tells you who, what, where, when, why, and how, as far as what the rental of the property is. Then you have to have your purchase agreement, and they have to mention each other, or they're two separate entities. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is this. Okay. In this lease agreement, I'm agreeing to make these payments with the option to purchase the property as detailed in the purchase agreement dated XYZ LMNOP date. Okay. Now, in the purchase agreement, it's going to say that the tenant buyer, the buyer of this purchase property, is a current tenant and is purchasing this property at this amount with, if part of the rent payments are going toward the purchase price, then you want to put that in there. If they're not going toward the purchase price, you want to put that in there. You have to make sure you are referencing each document inside the other document, or you will not have a valid lease option. Do you hear me? All my divas and dudes, all my heavy hustlers, did y'all hear what I said? Because y'all like to play, and then y'all like to halfway listen to what I'm telling you, and then you want to go back out in the streets, out in real estate streets, and mess it up. Then you want to come back to me because you lost your money. Then you want to come back to me and say, hey, Delisa, what you taught me didn't work. No, I taught you works. I know it works because I've done it. I know it works because I have clients who are doing it. I know it works because I have clients who are making tens of thousands of dollars every month doing this exact step, lease options. They are literally going out and renting these apartments. Now, other thing, lease option. In your lease, you need to have one other thing. Not only does it have to reference the purchase agreement, but you need to make sure if you are going to build a portfolio of lease option payments, you need to make sure that your property, your lease agreement says that you can sublet. Because if you go out and rent and lease 10 properties and you can't live in 10 different places. So you want to go out and lease 10 properties. You want to make sure say you can sublet, and you want to make sure that you can put other tenants in those properties. Especially if you just want to be an investor who has a lease option portfolio. You can do this. It's like an arbitrage. It's like a rental arbitrage, but you're not Airbnb in it. You're renting it. You're renting it to rent it to someone else. That works. People do it all the time. Y'all not hearing me though. All right. So an option fee is non-refundable. Just want you guys to mention that it's non-refundable. That means I paid you to keep your property. I'm basically compensating you for keeping your property off the market and allowing me to have somewhere to live for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm telling you now, I personally do lease options year to year. That's just me, and that's just the way I protect myself, and that's just the way my system is set up, the way I want to do it. I know people who will put you on a 5-year lease. I know people who will put you on a 2-year or a 3-year lease. I'm not that person because this is what I'm going to do. One, I'm going to charge you the option fee. I'm going to charge you the lease option fee for 1 year. And I might charge you something like $3,500. And then that means in 1 year, you have to either execute your option or you have to move. Because then the next person I'm going to go in there and I'm going to charge them another $3,500 if they want to do it. Now, I personally made a 5-year lease with the seller, but you, random person that I don't know, I'm only going to give you 1 year. And if you want 2 years, you're going to have to put more down. If we want to count this as a down payment, I'm still only going to do it for 1 year. And I'm still going to make that down payment non-refundable. But it's going to be more. It'll probably be $5,000 and non-refundable. Then you can pay me back. Then you can execute your option. That's just how it goes. Unfortunately, this is a game of numbers and it's a game of chance. And it's like Monopoly. You land on a property, you got to pay rent. So that's how it is. So a lot of you who are out there asking about rent to own and lease with an option of purchase, make sure you understand what you're asking for and trying to get yourself into before you try to execute this type of transaction. Because trying to execute this type of transaction, what's going to happen? You're going to get yourself, you're going to lose your money because you're out here doing stuff you ain't in a business doing. That's just that. And that's how it works. All right. All right. Now, remember what I told you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. If you think of something later, hit me up in my inbox. I'll be more than happy to answer a question, talk to you, see what we got going on. Hey, any deals on the table? I have plenty of deals on the table right now. Depends on what you guys are looking for. I have a 16-unit apartment building for sale. This is that time of the live stream, guys, when people start asking me about properties that I have. I have a 16-unit apartment building for sale. I have a 70 property portfolio for sale. I also have 40 properties, a mix of land and existing homes in Georgia. I have some land in Florida. I have a lot of stuff for sale. And I have some multifamily apartment buildings that I'm working with a law firm on. You contacted me tons of times but never got a response. That's not true. I talk to everybody. I know that's not true. I just hear responded back to 10 people yesterday. So I know that's not true. Inbox me and let me know. Everything I do is off market. I don't promote my on market stuff here unless, and I'll tell you it's on the market. I'll say this is listed through the MLS. You need to contact your real estate agent. But everything that I just mentioned is off market. Yep. Copy that. But yeah, reach out to me, inbox me your phone number, and I'll give you a call tomorrow morning. I usually make my phone calls in the mornings because that's when I'm up and out. In the afternoon is when I'm out seeing properties and doing other stuff. And the way my days are set up now, I have a very, very tight schedule with a lot of time blocks in there. So I make sure I get all my stuff done, because if it's not on my schedule, it's not getting done. So that's just what it is. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, divas and dudes, heifers and hustlers, today we learned about lease options. We are going to continue lease options. I'm going to actually walk you through an actual contract for a lease option next week. It's not going to be this week. It's going to be next week. So next week, Tuesday, we'll finish this lease option series. Okay. So make sure you turn on your notifications. Make sure you pay attention. Tomorrow I will be live streaming. I do live maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week. But this series for live streaming, if it's something that you are interested in, for lease options, if it's something that you're interested in, you're going to have to reach out to me and come back next week, Tuesday. Because, or I don't know, it might be tomorrow. We'll see. But now the contract, I'm definitely walking you guys through a contract tomorrow. I'm going to have to wait on that one. So I will be back here tomorrow night, probably around 7. No, I'm sorry. No, tomorrow is Wednesday. I keep thinking tomorrow's Tuesday. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow night, I won't be live. It'll be tomorrow afternoon, but I'll be inside the Hammers and Hills Facebook group. Going live inside the Hammers and Hills Facebook group. We are training our real estate agents on how to work with investors. And this is a training that they can get. If so, a real estate agent and you want to learn, go on Facebook, join us inside the Hammers and Hills Facebook group. That's where I'll be. And in our first class tomorrow, Wednesday, tomorrow. All right. All right, y'all. I appreciate you for joining me. Like I always tell you, if this is your first time, don't be last. If you've been here before, thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them in the chat. I'll be more than happy to get back to them, especially on Facebook. I usually go back through and read through all the comments and respond. I shot you a text from Instagram. Okay, great. And I'll look on it as soon as I'm off this live stream. I'll look at it. And that'll be my last act of kindness for today, because my groceries just delivered. So I got to go put them up. So I'm telling you, this day doesn't stop. I don't shut down until about 10, 11 o'clock at night. Now, like I said, now you can choose to be anything else. You can choose to be anything you want in this world. I just hope and pray that we all choose to be kind, because at some point in your life, somebody has been kind to you. And it's cool to pay kindness forward. Makes you a good person. If we all did it, make the world a better place. Not somewhere we would have to be arguing and fussing and fighting all the time. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow inside the Hammers Facebook group around 1-ish. I think it's right. It's either 1 or 3. I can't remember because I'm not looking at my schedule. But that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. And I'll see you guys then. Bye.